Like most young people, I had questions and I was seeking answers, mostly spiritual. Um, Around the age of 29, I my life was kind of in shambles. I had just come back from a horrendous experience in Los Angeles. Prior to that, I had failed at everything I've ever done. My childhood was a disaster. My 20s were pretty much a disaster. Drug and alcohol use, mental illness, the whole bit. Um, I managed to kind of pull it together around the age of 30. And now I was on like a spiritual quest, like a legitimate spiritual quest, not some bizarre shit that you make up when you're high or drunk. Um, Started in progressive Christian churches. Um, then graduated to Krishna temples or a Krishna temple. Then I started going to Darsham with Amaji and Rajinder Singh when they would come to the Northeast. And nothing was really working. Nothing was working at all, to be honest with you. And I was growing frustrated, and I went to a spiritual practitioner, and she read tarot cards, and was a psychic, and had spirit guides and crystals, and all that. And she had a flyer on her table for a Buddhist meditation center in walking distance of my parents' house, which I was staying. So, long story short, I went there on a Monday, and it was just a room like in an office building. Had a couple chairs set up, a little merchandise table, a little bookshelf to put your shoes, and this little stage with a microphone. And there was only like two or three of us there with a staff member. And then this woman came out of her room and she taught us how to meditate. And I did that for a while, a couple weeks, couple months. And I noticed that I was lighter. I felt better. Like I just kind of felt better. And I bought one of their tapes and I started doing it at home. And after about a year, it was about like 6 weeks before I turned 32. And I walked up to the guy at the place, this Asian kid, spoke English, just a Buddhist, ran the meditation center, worked at the temple and everything. And I said, man, what'd you guys do to me? Like, I was like half kidding. And he was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I don't feel anything. like I'll always be sour on like my childhood, but I'm not bothered by it. I just kind of have these boundaries, but they're like nihilistic boundaries and kind of like cold boundaries. And I can't string thoughts together. I can't string words together. And like my emotions are like icicles, and literally, what did you guys do to me? And he kind of had the run of the mill answer, like I was alleviating suffering and, all that kind of stuff. But it was like, I mean, that was 10 years ago. I still meditate, but it's like not as intense. But if you look at my videos from 10 years, from the last 10 years compared to my videos from like the 2000s and the 90s, like there's a much different energy there. There's a much different vernacular there. There's a much different tone there. And I feel that whatever they did to me is the reason for that change. And I haven't figured out whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, because everything works better. My mind, my body, my soul, my medication, my digestion. Um, hmm. But it's like in a way that I'm not used to. Like I'm not used to being a nihilist or having nihilistic uh, energy and presence and being cold or just like I in the last 10 years I've refused to go to weddings or funerals, and I don't have grief reactions anymore. I might play like I do. I might have like old tropes or say old facts and figures from 20, 30 years ago, but there's no emotion behind it. There's no feeling behind it. It's just kind of a mechanical expression, physical, verbal, but there's nothing really behind it. Like I'm just kind of this empty shell. And the Buddhists that I trained with did that to me. And I think it's permanent because I never had that on drugs. I never had that with alcohol. I never had that with any other religion or spiritual practice or like fraternal philosophy or anything like that. They didn't turn me to stone. They just made me not think about the stone at all. If that makes any sense. I don't really want to be that way. It's not it's not productive, you know? Like there was a point in time when I was meditating so much that every night at 11 o'clock p.m. I'd walk to a 24-hour pharmacy and get the same 10 photographs developed in the 1 hour photo. I'd come home, I'd tape them to my wall, I'd go to bed, I'd wake up, I'd rip them up, I'd go about my day, I'd meditate for a couple hours, and then, yeah, out the door to get those same 10 photographs developed. And that went on for like 4 or 5 years. It was really strange. But I wasn't consciously doing that. Like I was in like a zone or like a trance. I mean, I would talk to people at the store and I'd say hello to people walking down the street and, you know, go about my daily activities with neighbors and family and friends and stuff. But it was just a very weird experience. It still is. I haven't meditated probably in like a year or two, like succinctly, like over like every day. I still do once in a while, but it's more, I'm just kind of in that zone naturally. And it's bizarre because I watch my videos and I'm like, I'm just a robot. Like, this is just mechanical, robotic nonsense. These aren't even bits, they're just me barfing up words. Where, like, if you look at my scripted stuff or the stuff I did on public access or on the indie wrestling scene or whatever, like, there's kind of like passion behind that. There's energy behind that. There's like balls behind that. Where, like, the stuff I've done candidly the last 5 or 10 years is like, what? And I just caught myself doing that recently. I don't know. I guess be careful what you wish for. I wanted to be tranquil and I got tranquilized.